up, whoa, we're gonna rise up. Whoa, we're gonna rise up, whoa, not gonna give up, whoa, we're gonna rise up. Rise up, yeah, oh, we're gonna rise up.
Welcome to Rise Up, hosted by me, Steve Collum. I'm so thankful that you're here, and I'm so glad that you get to hear this awesome interview that I do with Jay Putty. He is an amazing artist, songwriter, and he's had so many sync placements in the industry, over 500 in the last few years. And now he also creates these very successful groups that he is helping people do what he is successfully doing. So it's going to be amazing. We're going to be talking about a lot of uplifting things, a lot of business or goal driven or wisdom nuggets that he shares. And I really hope you get a lot out of it, because it was inspiring for me to actually to interview Jay. It was amazing. But I also want to let you know that this podcast is sponsored by my Patreon account. You can go there by going to patreon.com/Steve Collum. And I ask that you think about sponsoring one of these a month, or you can go there and donate any amount, become a subscriber, become a somebody who enables these interviews to keep going, because it takes money. It takes staff members to go through all the information, and hopefully I really want to give you great interviews. I really want to give you great podcast, inspirational and motivational little things that you can take away. I started this after my stillborn son was born at the beginning of this year, 2023. And I wanted to give him a voice. I wanted to give him, I wanted to be better through him being with us and going to heaven. I wanted this world to be better through that, even though he wasn't here. And I thought, let me start up a podcast called Rise Up, inspirational and motivational stories and messages, because I want you to be better. I want people to be better because of Asher. And so please, and that's the whole reason why I started this podcast. And so hopefully you're getting a lot out of it. And if you are, show me you are, or if you want me to keep doing this, I think about becoming a sponsor, and head over there to my Patreon account, which is patreon.com/Steve Collum, and you can become a partner of many different ways. But head over there. But let's go ahead and dive into this amazing interview with Jay. That's another life lesson too, because it's like you did the research, and then you figured out a way that you could make it yours. And so you're not just copying. You're not just like, oh, they did that, so I'll do the exact same thing, or so close. You're adapting that, and you're adapting that, and you're adapting that, and you're making it yours, and you're saying it, as you just said, in a way that's never been said before. So you're actually making the world a better place in your zone, in your area. You're making the world a new place. You're creating a new thing. And it's, I think it's just so cool. And I think for anybody doing whatever they're doing, there's great keys there of doing the research, but then making it yours and making it better. And there's tons of gems here. Jay, this is awesome.
I don't know if there are gems. Like I said, I'm just like, my philosophy for everything is like, I like kind of like going back to the story originally about how I got my guitar. Like, music has always meant so much to me that for me, like, the least I could do to like give back in music is that I can't water down like my own like vision that I want for things, because then we get into that like for lack of better words, and I've seen this in label pitching, in country and pop, and everyone says it, it's just like, oh, like there's no substance, there's no like actual value to these. It's like it's factory made. And like that's kind of like what I see even in the world of sync now, where it's like, if you get your woes in the right place, if you make sure to say something about like celebrate or like rise up or like whatever, and I'm just like, I legitimately, and this is just like from my perspective, but I think if that is only how you write because you think you'll get paid for it, I think it is a waste of time and talent.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're not saying anything and you're not wanting to. And I'm like, music has always been used as a way of protest, of a way of coping, as a way of emotional like expression. And I think like that desire to essentially commoditize like the song to that point kind of like takes away like why you want to create in the first place, which usually people drive into that and they go into just doing that because they're like, I love music so much, but I need to make money for it to justify why I keep spending all this time and money on it.
Right.
And so it's like I'll sacrifice this because I can still say I do it. My best friend Michael has that same philosophy because he does like the sound better stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's like after a while he's like, at first I did it because I wanted to say I do music full time. Like I make my living from music full time. And then he's like, I am not creating anything I care and love about, which is kind of like, he's like, I clock in and I clock out. And he's like, that's never what I wanted to do with music. And I feel like sometimes when we just always are chasing the brief, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Is we go, as long as I can say I'm making money from music, I'm happy. And like at the end of the day, it's just like, but are you? Are you
Right.
happy? Are you making music?
Right. I know, and a lot of those times and some of those are stepping stones to getting to the place, and even discovering that is like, oh, so joining with that publisher or doing Sound Better. And for anybody who's not sure what Sound Better is, it's a place where you people hire you online from anywhere around the world, and you will sing or play guitar or whatever instrument, whatever you do, you will do a work for hire. They will pay you, you will give them what they want with music wise. And so then you're constantly doing someone else's dream. You're constantly, and it's not your dream. And so that's what Sound Better is. But you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, well, what do you really find your happiness in? What are you created here to do? And I think that's so important for people to find that. And that's so cool. And how you got to try things. And that's what you've been doing, Jay. You wrote K-pop. You didn't shy away, and you got a #1 hit. And then you've also, now you've got like over 500 placements on TV shows and films and stuff around the world. And now you've also stepped into a place of helping people by creating very successful Facebook groups and social media groups where people are in this community, and you're giving them these gems, these nuggets daily. You know, I see awesome posts from you daily, I think.
I appreciate that. And that kind of stems from, I mean, I grew up in like small Southern Indiana, and every chance I like got to try and do music, it was always like, hey, like if you want to learn this, if you want to experience this at all, like it's going to cost. And when I moved to Nashville, I had -$14 in my bank account. I didn't come from money. Like I never had money. I still don't have money. And so it always like frustrates me because everyone always says like, you know, what do you need for your career today? Time and money. That's usually the two things. Well, time is the one thing we can't get back. So if I can save somebody some time by saving them some money and just like drop something that mentors over and time again have done for me, that's literally like easy, so easy. My biggest two of my biggest mentors, Randall Foster, he used to head Olay Publishing, and now he's the head of Symphonic here in Nashville. I mean, this dude, if you knew like his just resume, I remember calling this dude one time, and it was the most trivial complaining session I had. It was completely, I was one of those, it was a call where I was being a jealous, very not nice person, calling and complaining. I remember I called Randall, listened to me for an hour, like complain, gave me incredible advice, and goes, Jay, like I can't spend any more time on the phone right now. Like I'm on vacation with my family. And I was like, Randall, why'd you even answer the phone in the first place? And he goes, you called, you needed me, I answer.
Wow.
And like when he did that, and Matthew Bromley, who's an incredible producer here in Nashville, as well, does a lot of sync stuff with like Sam Tenez, I have a stutter, I can't say that word, and Ruel
Yeah.
and Flurry.
Yeah.
Um, just always being so open to like answer questions, give advice, open doors. I'm like, dude, like I'm nobody. If they can do that for nobody at any second of any time of the day, then the least I can do is the same thing.
Yeah, and that's awesome, and that shows, you want to help people, you want them to be successful, and I think that's so cool. And you just said something before that you said you had like negative $14 in your bank account when you moved from. You said Indiana. You moved from Indiana to Nashville. Now, walk me through that process of some of that thinking that you had, because there's many viewers, many listeners who are wanting to take the leap. They want to take the leap of faith, or they want to just step out and just do this, but they're scared. And then they look at their bank account and then they're like, there's no chance. I don't even, I've only got a couple of $100 in there. How can I do it when you actually had negative $14 in your account? So walk me through some of the process, some of the hurdles that you had to overcome to get to do that.
So I always tell people, like, I understand that, like, when it's come time for like making the sacrifice, it's really, really hard with commitments. The older I've gotten, the more I like cling to stuff like that. When I did that, I was 21. So like a little less responsibility. I acknowledge that. I also acknowledge how reckless that was of me.
Right.
But for where I was at the time, I was 21. I was working in a construction warehouse, like inside sales, all that kind of stuff. I was so profoundly unhappy with my life. Like, I was working a job, but really I wanted to do music. I was in Southern Indiana where, like, I mean, I just went back a couple weeks ago to help my mom pack up her house so we can get her out, because after my dad passed, she's like, I don't want to be in this house anymore. I swear to God, this city has not changed in 30 years. And that's not like me, like, bad mouthing it, like legitimately, like the paint, everything has not changed. And I couldn't be there anymore. And this was, 7-8 years ago now. I couldn't. And so when I was working at this construction warehouse, they're like, hey, by the way, they opened up a new position in Nashville. So you can transfer down if anyone wants to do it. And it was for a robotics specialist. I didn't go to college. I didn't have a degree. So I said, you know what? I'm going to try. So I lied on my resume, just made up a bunch of stuff. Absolutely lied.
Oh yeah, 99% of the people in the world do anyway. So
yeah, like literally did this interview on a Thursday, lied. Like, there was 2 other people interviewing for this job. One was someone from another like competitor construction warehouse, and the other was a college grad. All did this before. I lied to this interview. And they're like, cool, you got the job. Can you start on Monday? So it's Thursday, it's Monday. And I'm like, yes. Because you know what? If I was going to lie, I might as well just keep going. Absolutely, I can. And by the time I walk from inside the warehouse to my car, I'm like, why did I say yes? Like, I have no money. I was like, I knew I was not going to have any money. So I looked at my account, and it literally said negative $14. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, I'm just going to have to go back in and say, hey, sorry, can't afford to do it. And there was just something in me, like in that moment, that said, you won't know unless you try. So what I did before I even left the parking lot, like, I called my bank and I gave them like a sob story. I'm like, hey, if you can give me a loan of like $6,000, I promise. I know that I've been late on every payment. My credit is like 500 right now. But I just accepted a job that was going to pay me better. I need this to try and find a place to move and have money to be able to like live down there for the next couple of weeks. So this is why I love credit unions. This is why I don't do big banks. I do like small banks, because you can sob story a small bank and they go, yeah, okay. And so I got the loan.
God.
And I like I was like, okay, I'm down here for like another day at least. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get on Craigslist and try and find an open room. And there was one room available, and I was like, cool, I'm going to go there right now. And it was like, by this time, it was like 7 p.m. at night. And I don't know how I'm not dead, because I answered a Craigslist ad for a room, and I ended up going into this cabin in the woods looking house. Swear to God,
Movie right there.
it was wild. But yeah, ended up doing that. Asked for the loan, found the place by just finding like whatever one worked, and I moved. I basically drove back from Nashville that the next morning, and then like moved everything down that weekend, and I started work on Monday. So it really was the breaking point for me. Was like I was really profoundly unhappy with my life, and I was like, I won't be happy unless I actually try, because I knew I could. Even if I tanked my life and I went into all this debt, I didn't go to college, so I knew I wouldn't go into debt like that.
Yeah, college students have got so much debt already. Yeah.
And I was like, I'd rather try it now in my 20s and at least say I gave it everything than go, well, oh well.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I was unhappy just being in Evansville. What would happen if I would have stayed in Evansville for another 10 years? Like, I would rather at least try.
No, and I think that's just absolutely an amazing story. And I hear a lot of the same kind of little lessons, that you got to a point where you were so desperate. You were just like, no more, no more. And just like, fist down, just like, no way, no more. This is the end. Something's gonna break. Something has to change right now. And one of the places that you picked, like in the States, like there's a short, like for the music capitals of America are pretty much like, there's lots of little niche ones, but pretty much it's LA, Nashville, and New York. And so you picked one of those places where you knew that you could 100% try this thing out. You'll never know till you try, is what you said. And so you dived in, and I think that's an awesome key that, like, for anybody listening, if you're at a place, or if you feel like you're nearly at a place where it's that's a good place. You could have everything. You're up against the wall and the whole world is about to crumble. That's a great place to be, because that's where you could be like, let it crumble. I'm doing this. I'm going off this way. And then one of the other keys, I'm just pulling out all these gems from your stories, Jay. It's so cool. The other thing is you're all the things in front of you said no. Your bank account said, nope, there's no chance. You can't do this. But you didn't accept that. You didn't accept the situation in front of you. You said how. The big thing I always tell my listeners is, don't say you can't. Say how can I? And so that's what you did. You said how, and you got on the phone and you fudged some of the things on the resume, and you said, how can you do that? And look where you're at now. I bet you your life would be a million times different if you didn't move to Nashville.
I probably wouldn't do music, honestly, because I mean, I'm still really close to like all my friends from back home. Like we've all been friends for like 16 years. And some of them still do music, but it's like, it's like a hobby. It's like, oh, cool. Like every couple of weeks we might like play a show like at a bar, but it's not like doing music.
No.
And I like that was always like my man, if I never make it, I'll just end up being like a Nickelback cover band when I'm like 40 or 50, because I think that'll be fun. And it's kind of like you said, like I didn't want to accept no. I firmly believe that this music, like the music industry in general, is, if you don't learn to pivot, then you might as well, get off the horse, because everything that you think should happen will not.
Mm-hmm.
It really is all about like, okay, what opportunity is coming forward? Like, what do I actually want to do? Mm-hmm. And like for me, I was always like, songwriter was my most passionate thing. like, how could I just be like more of a songwriter? And it wasn't until like recently that I found like the artistic voice of like, oh, like, no, I am an artist too. Like that should be a focus, because at the end of the day, like it really was just write the best song possible and everything else will come.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's and you've done that, and I know you do that also in your production, right? Do the best production you can, and the rest will fall. And it's I've heard some of your production, and it's really, really good. So tell us a little bit about learning like that transition from being a songwriter, because there's lots of songwriters out there or poem writers or people that might even write notes for a book, but they haven't completed it. So tell us about how you switched, or added, I should say, added songwriting. You were a songwriter and you added the production world to complete the book, complete the song. Tell us a bit about it.
So that was again, like I think like right time, right place. Like pandemic happened. I was out of a job because pandemic. I had all this time. I'd been around studios and like incredible producers my entire life. And so a lot of things, like when I started like once I got like familiar with like this is the steering wheel, this is the gas, this is the brake, all that like vicarious knowledge that I've gotten through like 10 plus years of being in studios started flooding my head of like, oh, you do this, oh, you do that. And so it just really felt good being behind there. I had like great friends like show me tips and tricks, but again, like on a pivot, like you can't replace a great producer. And so I say that in like, I got very lucky that I ended up being pretty all right, but I still work with other producers too, especially if it's my music, because I know for a fact that I'm too close to it. And so the value of a great producer, someone who can see the forest from the trees, it's invaluable, because again, like if we're here to get the best song possible, like I want to work with the best.
Yep.
I don't want to assume I'm the best. And I like, so I say like for anyone that like listens and is like, I'm going to get into production, do it because you love it. Like I did it out of necessity. Like mine was truly a necessity, and I found out I loved it because the more I did it, the more I was like, oh, I actually really love this. It feels like an extension of my songwriting process now, versus like I'm doing it because I either want to save money or I want to make demos or whatever. Like I will still default to someone else being the producer in the room sometimes because I would rather be a songwriter.
That was so amazing. Thank you so much, Jay, for your time and your wisdom. You shared so many great points, great takeaways. And I encourage all the listeners, use those little keys that you learned. Any of those things that got you inspired, or any of those little takeaways, write them down on a little stick-it note or post-it note, and write them down where you can see them, and read it over the next few days. Read it over, whether you're driving in your car or when you get to work, put it on a little stick-it note or a post-it note, put it on your car, or meditate over that. Go over those words many, many times, because one thing I've learned in teaching and mentoring and coaching people is repetition is the key to learning. And so going over it, reading over those notes, it helps absorb, and it helps you to do what you're writing down that you want to become or accomplish. So I'm so glad that you got a lot out of it. And also I want to let you know, please head over to my Patreon account, patreon.com/Steve Kalm, and seriously think about becoming a supporter, a partner with me to continue these amazing interviews. And I want to interview so many people and give you guys so many amazing inspirational and motivational stories. So head over there, and I will see you there, and I'll see you in the next one.
Whoa, we're gonna rise up. Whoa, not gonna give up. Whoa, we're gonna